The impending release of long-sealed Jeffrey Epstein-related FBI files has become one of the most politically charged transparency battles facing the Trump administration. What began as a long-running demand from victims' advocates and investigative journalists has now escalated into a formal congressional mandate, transforming the release of these documents from a moral issue into a constitutional and legal confrontation. Lawmakers argue that the files may finally clarify what federal authorities knew about Epstein's criminal activities, how they responded, and whether powerful individuals were shielded from scrutiny. As anticipation builds, the question is no longer whether the files matter, but what their contents could reveal about institutional failure and elite accountability. Congress has made the release of the Epstein documents a matter of law, significantly raising the stakes for the administration. Legislators have warned that failure to comply could trigger serious consequences, including findings of contempt, accusations of obstruction of justice, and even the initiation of impeachment proceedings. This pressure is compounded by the timing of the release, which coincides with the departure of senior FBI officials. Critics argue that these exits heighten suspicion, suggesting possible internal discord or attempts to distance individuals from decisions made during earlier investigations into Epstein. Supporters of the administration counter that personnel changes are routine, but the overlap has only fueled public skepticism. Central to the renewed attention is the relationship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, which has been examined in detail by a recent New York Times investigative report. According to the reporting, Trump and Epstein moved within the same elite social circles in New York and Florida during the 1990s and developed a social bond that by multiple accounts revolved around their shared interest in women. The article cites a range of documentary and testimonial evidence, including a birthday card Trump allegedly sent to Epstein that referenced secrets and women, handwritten notes from Epstein's assistant dating back to 1994 that indicate Trump's regular presence in Epstein's life, and accounts suggesting the two men spoke frequently, sometimes multiple times a week, during the mid to late 1990s. The report also describes claims that Trump shared stories of his sexual exploits with Epstein and sent modeling cards of women for Epstein to review, allegedly treating them like a menu. These details, while provocative, are presented as part of a broader effort to understand the social dynamics surrounding Epstein rather than as proof of criminal behavior. Importantly, the New York Times explicitly states that it does not accuse Trump of participating in or facilitating Epstein's sex crimes. Trump has denied wrongdoing and has repeatedly said that he severed ties with Epstein before Epstein's legal troubles became widely known. Nevertheless, the reporting raises unresolved questions about what Trump may have known or observed during the years he socialized with Epstein. While the Epstein files themselves may not directly implicate Trump in criminal activity, they could provide additional context about Epstein's network and whether warning signs were visible to those around him. This distinction has been emphasized by journalists to avoid conflating social association with legal culpability. At the same time, it is also noted that other women in unrelated cases have accused Trump of improper conduct, allegations he has consistently denied and that are separate from Epstein's crime. Beyond Trump, journalists and legal experts are focused on what the Epstein files might reveal about federal law enforcement. Investigative reporters Emily Bazelon, Brown have explained that their primary interest lies in understanding what the FBI knew about Epstein's activities over time and how it responded to information provided by victims. One critical issue is the number of victims who came forward over the years, and whether their accounts were adequately investigated or dismissed. Another is how the evidence gathered by federal authorities compares to the remarkably lenient non-prosecution agreement, often described as a sweetheart deal that Epstein received in Florida in 2008, which allowed him to avoid federal charges despite serious allegations. This deal has long been cited as a symbol of systemic failure, raising questions about why Epstein was protected from harsher prosecution and why no other individuals connected to his operation were charged. The forthcoming documents could illuminate whether prosecutorial decisions were influenced by incomplete investigations, political pressure, or preferential treatment. For victims and advocates, the hope is that the files will expose not only what went wrong, but who bears responsibility. Another area of renewed scrutiny involves Epstein's modeling agency. New reporting, including references to internal emails, suggests that the agency may have functioned as a front for recruiting young women and girls into Epstein's orbit under the guise of legitimate modeling opportunities. This theory aligns with survivor accounts describing how they were introduced to Epstein through promises of career advancement or financial assistance. If substantiated, the files could provide documentary evidence supporting claims that the agency was an integral part of Epstein's trafficking operation, rather than a peripheral business venture. The broader media response has amplified the significance of the file release, particularly across digital platforms. YouTube commentators, independent journalists, and mainstream media outlets have all revisited Trump's past association with Epstein, circulating newly surfaced photos and emails and re-examining previously reported material in light of the anticipated disclosures. While not all of this content has been independently verified, It has intensified public scrutiny and reinforced demands for full transparency. Ultimately, the release of the Epstein files represents more than a historical reckoning with a disgraced financier. It is a test of whether powerful institutions are willing to confront their own failures, and whether political leaders can be compelled to prioritize accountability over self-protection. For the Trump administration, compliance with Congress may determine not only the political fallout of the moment, but also how history judges its response to one of the most disturbing criminal scandals of modern times.